Hello. This is a weekly review podcast. Weekly being what happened this week, and also talking about some of my weaknesses and kind of the history behind that, and maybe what I'll be doing to address that. Or in this case, things I've already started to do to address it, and how that's been going. Main thing from this last week. I went kayaking in Tomales Bay, which is near Point Reyes. It's about an hour north of where I live. No, that's a lie. Two hours. Why did I say an hour? Uh, yeah. And it was gorgeous weather, sunny, but mostly not too hot, with some cool winds and whatnot. It's great. It was a group of about a dozen people kayaking and camping. 6 mile kayak, I believe, 5 to 6 miles from our launching point to where we ended up staying. And it was great. The kayaking part is tough. I think everyone, or at least everyone I remember talking to, had sore arms, shoulders, and then, of course, like sunburns, because, you're just out there in the sun, out in the elements for a good amount of time. And yeah, this morning I woke up because I got back yesterday. And this morning I woke up, felt like someone had just been, or maybe a whole bunch of people actually, had just been punching me. Head, back, shoulders, arms, just like all my upper body. My lower body is pretty fine, but yeah, just people have been punching me from the waist up. You know, no low blows. So still feeling sore, still feeling tired. Slept a lot today, but it was a good trip, and we saw a lot of jellyfish, some rays. Um, don't think we saw any fish that I can think of. Someone said I think they saw a shark. I was not there for this. Kind of a bummer. Quite a few birds, seals from a distance. Saw a good variety of boats, whether they be motor boats and paddle boats or other kayaks. So it was a cool arrangement of things out there. And when we got to camp, we were hanging out for a while on what they call, I don't know if it's called the spit or a spit. That's kind of a new term for me, but it's basically a kind of like a sandbar, a sort of like tiny peninsula, about 20 feet wide and 50 feet long, 100 feet long. I'm not really sure. And it's cool. One of my friends, Christian, brought spike ball, and he brought a lot of stuff. It was kind of crazy. We had our own cargo boat actually that we took turns dragging around. And one of the things he brought was spike ball, which for those of you who aren't familiar with the game, the sport, it's this circular net that you put on the ground. A couple of feet wide. Anyways, and you have a small ball, roughly about the size of I don't know, a small like cantaloupe. And it's kind of like multi-directional volleyball, where usually it's played 2v2, and you get 3 touches before you have to hit it back onto the net cleanly and off the net, after which the other team has 3 touches to get it back onto the net. We kind of modified this, played a 3v3. It's kind of crazy, hella fun, and that was a good time. And then also there's a little hike there that turned out to be not so little. Like from the beach, you look up and that hill looks like it would take 5 minutes max to get to the top of. And what you don't realize, or I didn't realize, is that it wraps around and weaves its way up. And so what I thought was going to be like a 5 minute walk turned into, I didn't time it, but I was making good like progress. I was like walk jogging up, and I think it took me 20 plus minutes to get all the way up there, maybe longer actually. And even running downhill, it took me about 6 7 minutes to get down. So yeah, good hike. And had dinner, had a fire, and then we tossed around like a football and a frisbee. And there were quite a few beaches in that area, and so when we found one that was interesting, with some semi-abandoned buildings or whatnot, we would just go and check it out. So that was a good trip. That was the main highlight. Also got to check out, I think, Point Reyes, a cute little place. Had some gelato there. It was funny because for some reason, two of my friends, Paul and Lucy, wanted ice cream. And at first, I was like, all right, well, I'm more gonna go hunt for food. But what they said kind of just stuck with me. And I was like, no, you know what? I really, really want ice cream now. And I went with them to go search for ice cream. Checked out this creamery, which had zero ice cream. So it was just cheese and butter, I think. So that was kind of disappointing. But then we saw some people walking on the street who were walking around with some ice cream cones. We asked them. Turns out the grocery store around there has what they call gelato, buffalo gelato. I don't think it was. It was definitely not gelato, and I have some doubts as to whether there was any like buffalo milk or whatever in there. And you go in, you pay at the register, and then you go back and you get it, and yeah, it's pretty great. And it's funny because we discovered it through people walking on the street, and as we walked back outside to eat it, in the sun, other people were asking, and this not like just this chain just kept going of people talking and asking about ice cream and more people coming out and people asking them. So it's got a pretty great business model going for it, just specifically this ice cream at that supermarket. So well done. Yeah. Um so I would say, oh right, one more place that we went to that was a highlight for me was it's called Black Star Pirate Barbecue, I believe. It's in Hayward. It's kind of out of the way, along the coast. You drive through some windy roads, and it's got a lot of speed bumps to get there. But yeah, it was pretty great. Got live music, outdoor seating, well decorated, just a friendly, fun sort of atmosphere. It's a great place apparently for dogs. People take their dogs there, and they're just dogs wandering around. And they're all pretty friendly. And yeah, just great barbecue. And it was a great time, especially after kayaking and being tired and sore, over the course of 2 days. So that's the main thing going on lately. I did finish my first donation of white blood cells to Leuko Lab, and that turned out pretty well. They were nice. The facility was nice. They give you like heated pads, towels, to keep you warm while you're there. A tablet and headphones, so keeps you occupied. You can watch Netflix, whatnot. And I think I was there for 3 hours or so. And yeah, get paid $450. And there is a kind of boosted version of that. And I think you can get paid up to 1650. I have not done that, but we'll see next time they ask me. I'll see if I can do it. See if it's worth it or not. But yeah, first experience donating at Leukolab turned out great. Seems like a win-win. I get money, they get blood, and it was a good time. Would do again. Um, so, anyways, that's the main part of the review of this last week. I'm sure other things happened. Cannot recall them at the moment, just because these two were like the main things that dominated my focus. Okay, so now to the part that mainly inspired this Wednesday podcast, and that is kind of harping but also reflecting on some of my weaknesses. I think people don't really, they don't acknowledge, at least publicly, their own weaknesses. They tend to shunt responsibility and focus away from it. And while that is understandable, I also find it to be incredibly, incredibly annoying, um, to the point of anger, actually, sometimes. I think, if you mess up, right, on the one hand, it doesn't feel good to be called out, but on the other hand, to not acknowledge your own mistakes, shows a huge lack of responsibility, and it's just not fun to deal with those people, especially as an adult, but even amongst children, it's still incredibly frustrating. I think it's a real core part of what I look for in people. Most of the people that I really like and respect and spend time with, they are really good at acknowledging their weaknesses, and the best of them do a good job of trying to address it. And that's a part I think that I have struggled with most of my life is taking active and measurable, steps to address these to see, I'm taking this action to solve some of my weaknesses, my mistakes. Is it working? How much is it working and why? So, if what I'm trying to do isn't working out, maybe I can try to figure out why it's not working out and try a different tact instead. The main weakness I would say that has really been plaguing me, especially in my adult years, is tardiness, being late. And it's funny because I had really good attendance in, you know, school, but then I realized that wasn't because of me. That was because of my parents. They were the ones providing structure, right? And granted, I always did go and try to give my effort when I showed up. It's not like I just showed up and barely was there. But by the time I got to college, when I was responsible for myself, that's when the issues started. I had all these like rules and the structure in place for my parents all the way up to end of high school. And once college hit, I had all these restrictions lifted off of me, right? When could I could sleep later, I could play video games for a lot longer, whenever I wanted. And so even though my natural best schedule is an early one, I really enjoy it when I am able to wake up early, get stuff done early. It feels really great. And I'm not saying that that's, a better lifestyle. That's the lifestyle that works for me. College hits, and I find myself gradually pushing it further and further and further back. And I'm sleeping at 2, 3 in the morning on average. And it's really bad because I don't like it. My body doesn't like it. I wake up feeling groggy, with more headaches, dehydrated, just a lot of problems. And the funny thing is, I'm not even like hard partying, drinking a lot of alcohol. I'm just playing video games or staying up late on the internet. That's it. But, just that in and of itself is really killing a lot of who I am, my lifestyle, my drive. And I end up missing classes. And, when you miss one class and another class, you're like, I've missed most of my classes today. Why go to my last one? Let's just call it a break day. Turns out when most of your days are missing classes, they're break days, right? And I'm going to 20% of my classes, I'm not going to do well in school. So a lot of my college time was very poor performance because, I was late to things, I was missing and tardy from things, all because of, just pushing my lifestyle back. And that translates to my adult life, the rest of my adult life, even post college. But I would say even worse is that a lot of times I'm late, even when I'm living a healthy lifestyle. And the reasoning behind that is simply, I would say, greediness. Thinking I can get away with doing a lot of stuff and still being able to make it on time, underestimating how long it will take to prep, not accounting for traffic. And so a lot of my adult years have ended up with me being significantly late, and it's been really embarrassing actually. My friends have been pretty patient and not too mean about it. I would say that actually they should be a lot meaner about it, and I have been kind of pushing for them to be a bit more, upfront and, just straight up with me. Because, I think I've been trying to, especially in the recent couple years, I've been a bit more upfront about it with myself, and taking more concrete steps to improve it. But before, the last couple of years, so I would say for about like 8 to 10 years of my adult life, it was just really bad. I was just showing up late. I was like, okay, well, I got to get somewhere by, let's say, 2 p.m. And I know it's a 10-minute drive. And so I wait until 1:50 thinking I can get away with going now, so to speak. But really what's got to happen is, oh, okay, well, I got to get the stuff. I got to get it in the car. Oops, where are my keys? Where's my wallet? Okay, now we're a few minutes late, behind schedule. It's 1:55. Okay, well, I'll drive fast. Well, guess what? There is traffic, and you can't always account for traffic being perfect. You miss a light. traffic starts building up around that time, let's say. And instead of being, 5 minutes late because I left 5 minutes, later than expected, it's 10, 15 minutes late. And, this is just a pattern that's been building up through my adult life. And it costs you. It costs you the respect of people around you. They can't count on you being there on time. Sometimes they will have to schedule things earlier for you just so you'll show up on time. You're not seen as reliable, and rightfully so. And, you just don't appear mature to people because you aren't mature, right? I wasn't being a mature person when I was showing up late on a consistent basis. Maturity is directly tied with responsibility. You can be a silly person, you can seem stupid, but if people can count on you to get things done as needed, you are a mature, responsible adult. That's not all there is to being an adult, but that's a really big core component of it. And I think not enough people realize it, right? Maturity and getting respect for being an adult is not about how you look, about how old you are. It is about when it comes down to the serious moments, are you going to be there and are you going to do what you need to do? And the getting there on time part is really, really important. And I wasn't doing that. So, to anyone listening to this podcast, I probably have already apologized for doing this before. And I really want to appreciate you guys for, one, being patient with me. And to those of you who have talked to me about, my lateness and things I could do to address it, I want to thank you for, you know, taking that time. Yeah. So, man, sorry, it's just a little difficult. It's one of my greatest frustrations with myself. And I guess I want to talk now about, some of the things I've done to kind of address being late and getting around that. Because it's actually quite a lot of things that go into being late, and therefore quite a lot of different ways to approach each aspect of being late, too, and how to prevent that, both, proactively and reactively. Not to say that I'm never late, but it's gotten better. I'm usually more on time. So even if I am late, it's like within a reasonable time frame, right? Like 5 minutes as opposed to like 30 to an hour. So I would say number one thing is don't be greedy, right? Don't think you can get away with leaving only enough time to get there just perfectly on time. Um, the whole mindset of being there on time and having that as your goal has just not worked out. And it's not a healthy mindset. And one of the things that I don't know why it took me so long to like really drill this down in my head, but it's what exactly is going to be bad if you get there early? I mean, there's no like, what are you missing out on? That's so important that you can't get there 5 minutes early. There's no like 5 minutes that I'm spending at home, like finding out some key bit of information on the news that'll change my life, right? Even if it's like a big moment on a show that's like a cliffhanger, I can always just watch it later. It's not gonna kill me. I'm gonna enjoy it. It's fine. So part one is really just aiming for being early and having that spare time, because a lot of times you think you're going to get there early and you end up being there on time anyways, right? Like I said, there's always all these factors that end up pushing you to be late, and you just can't account for them necessarily all the time. Number two, what is a good number two? Number two is just like, I guess like, what is it called? Mise en place? Mise en place? Oh God, I can't pronounce French things. But basically having things in place. A lot of times I think, it's going to take a very negligible amount of time to prep to go somewhere. And reality is that, a lot of the times that I thought, prep was going to take like 0 to 10 minutes. Realistically, it was 20 minutes to an hour, right? Depending on the complexity of things. So, for example, for a camping trip, getting everything ready and in the right place, that's minimum is going to be an hour, right? I have to get toiletries, clothes, camping gear, um, you know, I'm sorry, camping gear is very wide. It's a broad spectrum of things, so that's kind of being a little too vague. But you have stuff literally for the tent. You have things for food, um, for like sunscreen, bug spray, um, you know maybe the hammer for the stakes for the tent. Do I need a water filter? Do we need headlamps for nighttime? Flashlights, extra batteries? Do we need hand warmers? Right? Is it gonna be cold? Um, am I gonna bring any sort of recreation stuff? Right? Like my friend brought spike ball. I have what is it? I have cornhole, bocce ball, right? There are all these things to kind of address. And then you don't want to overpack either. Obviously, you don't want to underpack because that could be dangerous. But you also don't want to overpack because, it gets heavy to carry, and that's been a problem at times too. So having things set so that it's easy to go when you need to go the next morning, also very important. And I wasn't really ever prepping. I was just like, okay, well, I've thought about the things that I want to bring, and that'll be good. It'll be fast tomorrow morning, and it never is. So I would say those two are the most important core parts of why I was late. And the other part, kind of what I've reflected on already, is just not taking seriously enough the impact of being late, right? I kind of always I've taken it for granted that, my friends would be there, and they have been, but, I also have the mentality that friendship and respect, all important things in life, have to be earned, and they have to be earned on a consistent basis, right? Respect is built slowly, brick by brick. But good things are they're difficult to build up and very easy to destroy, right? A building takes a very long time, a lot of planning, a lot of resources to get it so that it's in a good, stable, useful formation, and that it coalesces together, right? So people can live in it or people can use it. But I could, take like a hammer, a baseball bat, go and easily smash up some windows, some doors, at least damage parts of walls. It's very easy to bring something down. It's hard to build up. Something my mom always tried to drill into me. So, yeah, in a sense, I think I've taken my friends and people around me for granted, at least in the aspect of timeliness. And I've been very frustrated by myself and how much I've disregarded that. So going forward, I hope I never forget again just how important that is. Because I've kind of drilled it in my head, how important that can be. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy that like more of my friends haven't been, you know, late to meeting up with me. Or at least it's never felt that way. I felt like I have been the dominant majority of like meetups, like the tardies. That's been me. And then I guess I just want to say, I mean, I've kind of talked a little bit about how I've changed my mindset about things and prepping things ahead. But the other thing is simply just, especially with last year, with my, my plan and training routine, or trying to set training routines to run, a lot of miles, you know, when you are doing essentially what is, a year-long marathon on running, right? And especially when you haven't done it before, it takes a lot of prep, it takes a lot of adjusting and planning ahead and trying to fit that into that routine, that discipline. It really helps you build like a more set, consistent schedule of things. And I think that's been helping with making sure I get ready and get to places early, or at least on time. And that's kind of carried over into this year, where even though I think this year still have been struggling with keeping up my miles, at least I've been keeping an eye on that, keeping little mental notes of what's been missing, what's been making me struggle and fall behind on my routines, and try to construct, plans going forward that will help with that. So, trying not to be late and also trying to keep up with my running miles for this year. Hopefully, both go well. And yeah, thank you for listening to me talk about my week and also about one of my biggest weaknesses that I've had in my life, which hopefully going forward, will continue to be at least a minor weakness. And hopefully in the future, either non existent or even a strength. Timeliness, that is, not being late. All right. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you guys more on Friday. Bye.